Just a little bit of a technical snafu, but by gosh, by God, by golly, we are here for another Z and B Live, your unfiltered Lego podcast. I am one of your hosts, Zach M. Rutledge, along with Hollywood Bricks O'Brien over here. Good to see you back in the saddle, my guy.
Hey, thanks, man. Very happy to be here and not in the slums of Las Vegas. I'm all set, and we'll only go back for business or by virtue of being dragged there, because my golly, man, I don't know how you feel about Vegas or anybody else. Well, I know how Karen Day feels because she's from there, but everybody else, I don't know how you feel about Vegas, but
Vegas doesn't have Bricks O'Brien written all over it? Is that what you're telling me?
No, because I value my money.
Did you throw any quarters in a slot machine while you were there? Did you take an opportunity to?
I am a full-time, family-first, family-friendly content creator who cannot confirm nor deny how much money I may have lost in a casino environment that smells of cigarettes.
You're supposed to say you lost all your money at the buffet. That's where all your money goes, is the buffet.
I didn't do a buffet. No. I didn't do a buffet.
Oh, okay. Well, you see, he was high rolling then. If he's not doing the buffet, then that means he's out there high rolling it with the people. That's what that means.
Although the best meal I had all weekend, it wasn't even a weekend. It was like 3 days. They in the MGM, they have Netflix Bites, which is a Netflix themed restaurant where all the dishes are like it's Squid Game and Stranger Things and whatever. And I had a barbecue chicken pan pizza that was unbelievably good. And it was not like greasy or gross or what. It was like a really, really, really good pan pizza. All the food was excellent, actually. And it wasn't like horrifically priced either. So it was really good.
Nice. I love to see it, man. Welcome back, though. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the ZNB Live Unfiltered Lego podcast here live every as many Thursdays as we can be on YouTube at 7 p.m. Eastern, and you can get in and join us for these conversations. If you are listening to us or watching us after the fact, you can get in and join us for these conversations in our live chat on those Thursdays. We'd love to have you here because, especially if you're here for those live shows, you get to hang out with us for the post show, where we give you a little bit of extra juicy nuggets and tidbits that maybe you don't get during the live show, or we get to interact with you if you have different comments or questions for us throughout that. But the main thing we want to see you guys all do is share out the links to this show, both here on YouTube and the different spots that you can get us on our audio podcast format. Would love more eyes and ears in and around this show before we lose Mr. Hollywood O'Brien to the vast riches of that Hollywood machine.
or we lose you to more car shoots.
Car shoots, dude. I don't want to do more car shoots. That's the thing. I want to be here with the people. I want to be what I really want to do is I just want to be getting you coffee. That's all I want to do. I just want to get you coffee.
Listen, hey man. Well, so we should dive in on all this. I don't want to say because it's happening like soon, but anyways, you're in charge of the flow. Go ahead. Do the thing.
Well, I feel like there was a lot that happened with our lovely Hollywood O'Brien last week, and there's not a ton happening in the Lego world for us to talk about this week. So it was almost like fate showed up and said, you know what? We got this. Let's talk about what happened with Mr. Bricks O'Brien out there in Vegas. And let's start at the very beginning of his journeys. This
My badge is right there.
This image right here just epitomized everything that is Bricks O'Brien. Just showing up in Vegas in his hoodie and his comfy pants, ready to dominate It's like it's you and it's the vibe, and it's like we're here, we out here, we're doing this thing, y'all better show up and get ready.
That's 5 hour flight, middle seat, 5 hours of sleep, Bricks O'Brien right there.
Oh
So yeah,
God,
pretty much.
you got stuck in the middle seat
Because we didn't plan as far ahead of time as we could. On the way back, Charles and I, one of my closest friends, he ended up going. Joe was with me. My manager was with me for a minute. Then he left, and Charles basically took his place, and then we got a row on the way back, so it was good. But on the way there, yeah, I got a middle seat.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. So you go to you're set up to go to NAB, which is the National Association of Broadcasters show. You've never been. Now this is back in my old wheelhouse. You know, I'm trying to get out of the whole TV realm thing. Brian's going to suck me back in with getting him coffee from now on. I guarantee that. But this is a show that I've attended and worked at, as well as attended, and you know, and it's an interesting show. I tried to kind of warn you a little bit ahead of time of like what to expect, but with what I had told you and overall thoughts on it when you were asked to go to this thing to do a pitch, what were your early impressions of what you were going to expect with NAB?
I thought it was going to be a lot of big business, a lot of big industry, a lot of stuff that isn't necessarily relevant to my day-to-day stuff. And I was totally right in that regard. By comparison of what we typically deal with at like Penny Arcade Expo, TwitchCon, Brick World, this event is, you know, a big convention. And then what I was presenting at was a subsection, separately ticketed session called Programming Everywhere, which was held at the Encore. So the main convention NAB show was taken up by all of the West Hall, which is where TwitchCon was that one year, but also the North and South halls. So it was TwitchCon times 3 in terms of stuff that is there and people that are around. 55,000 people from, I think, 126 countries. I had a statistic on there. They had shuttles from all the different hotels. They had the Tesla loop to navigate a bunch of different places underground, which is really convenient. So picture a convention for deep industry stuff times 3 from what you might be used to. And that's what NAB show was. You did a really good job of prepping me for like what this was. For anybody that's never been or never heard of it, because I had actually never heard of it, funnily enough, it is unbelievably boring for most people, myself included. A lot of it was like, you need your cloud computing partner. Here it is. And, oh, you're looking for ways to distribute your content, and not talking like, you know, what we deal with on this stuff. It's like, here's the super high tech industry, blah, 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 blah. And like 7 different booths do the exact same thing with different branding and different people. And it's all the same thing. And then, oh, here are these lenses. Here's these camera bodies. Here's this and this and this and this and this. Some of the only brands I recognized were Insta360, which does like the camera, the moving camera thing that I have, and Adobe for like, they had a creator area in the South Hall. So every other like just stuff I've never heard of before is not relevant to like anybody watching this right now, probably like super deep industry stuff. And that was the vast majority of the show floors there.
Yeah. It's a lot of news.
Yes, and sports.
Yeah, they like to, that's kind of their captive audience. There's times where they will, it's evolved over the years. Let me just put it that way. There were times where they would really utilize that show to present new camera technology and things that could move the industry forward a little bit. CES is kind of done that now, and
I think of CES more as that kind of thing.
Yeah, now. and CES kind of touches on so many different. Obviously, it's electronics in general, right? But like the camera companies have wiggled their way into that now. And I really saw a massive shift in the industry back in about 2012, 2010, 2012, when Apple finally said, hey, we're going to make a nonlinear editor for the prosumer. They saw all of it was the big DSLR craze, right? Like all of a sudden everybody started using DSLRs, and it was Canon kind of leading the way and saying, we're going to use this 5D Mark II, which has been historically a stills camera, and you're going to shoot gorgeous looking video with it, because you're going to be able to put your stills glass on there and have this like cinematic depth of field and amazing bokeh and high bit rate and everything. And you're going to get away from the video look, but at a price that is consumable for most people, right? And then Apple decided they were going to jump in and kind of follow suit and make, okay, we need to make an editing system that applies to that type of market. And that was the big like surge in YouTube content, was people finally getting a hold of these DSLRs and then getting a hold of nonlinear editor system like Final Cut X10, whatever you want to call it, where they could do that. Now YouTube has evolved even again, and now they're into the Reds, the Aries, they're a lot of people are shooting still on mirrorless cameras and stuff. But that,
by the way, if anybody watching this right now is hearing whatever Zach is saying and thinking it's unbelievably boring, I can follow everything you're saying and I love it. But NAB is what he's talking about right now times 10.
Yeah.
It's like all the industry, like, what's a RE camera?
You are welcome. Yes. So that's just a taste of what he had to deal with there. And I tried to prep him with, hey, this is like, people go to NAB to take courses. Even you can go there and you can get certified in different, editing, graphic work, audio work. You can get certified with different cameras. You can, all this other stuff. But that's really what a lot of it is. And so it's not a show for the TwitchCon people. Like, it's just not
even a little bit.
Now, I thought it was interesting because you said you actually saw, what was his name? Harris Heller walking around there. Yeah. So like, there are still live streamers out there that are heading to a show like this to, network a little bit. There are live streamers, myself included, that utilize a lot of this type of gear, like professional gear, in their overall package that they're putting on the internet. And it just kind of speaks to the industry maybe ready to take that next step forward. And that's what I was talking about before, where we had the video world, the news world, the sports world, and then things kind of moved into that prosumer world. And now it's time to really start pushing the next evolution of what that content is. And that is live streaming style content. And then that leads me to the pitch. Okay. So
look at that shot.
Look at that shot. Look at that shot. You had an opportunity to help, in my opinion, move that narrative forward a little bit in the minds and eyes of people that make some of these decisions in the entertainment industry. Okay. So let me lead you down this path here. The pitch. Here's Bricks O'Brien, content creator, family-friendly content creator, both in the video game realm, in the published author book realm, and in the Lego realm. How does Bricks O'Brien get this call to say, hey, I need your help to kind of help move this narrative forward a little bit in these eyes? How did that happen?
That's a great question. So there was an email that went out from an agency that is partnering with this event called Programming Everywhere, and they were looking for content creators who ended up having this opportunity to pitch. And so they were looking for just generally an open call out, but looking for people who were qualified in what content they were producing, what makes them stand out as creators, and then specifically what pitch would be relevant for this audience specifically. So These people being network executives at NBC, local and otherwise part of the larger programming that they do. Basically, these are decision makers that say this happens or this doesn't. And they're from all different walks of life. We ended up talking with somebody from WB and whatever. So not only did I have this experience of partnering with these brands, the amount of views I've accumulated on all these different platforms, but like it's the fact that I'm family first, which is the new way that I'm describing myself, because it's true where I'm family friendly in my approach, where I don't swear and whatever, but that's not exclusively, like I'm not and right. I'm not
What
like
was
catering.
That? What do you want to do? Never mind.
I'm not catering like just to, hey kids or hey families, but like that is the priority when I'm making my stuff, because I've had so many people come up and, you know, who have been grateful for me being a sound voice in their home. So it's a family first content creator that also has his stuff on all these different platforms like Kidoodle TV, Roku, and elsewhere. That is what makes me very unique compared to literally everybody else that's out there. And the fact that I can carry myself in a professional manner to these people in this room and be able to add value to that conversation. So it was a lot of different factors, but ultimately it was my work so far and that pitch that secured me a spot over other creators who I will not name, but I know for a fact have millions and millions and millions and millions of more dollars and followers and views than I do. So this was entirely on merit.
So you prepare, you know, you're instructed, you're coached, you're helped a little bit here of like what to anticipate, what to expect, right? And you're going to go in, and the overall idea here is a Shark Tank style pitch on, you know, potentially a new type of television show, content show. How does, like, you walk into that room, right? And it's like, it to me, like, this is in my brain. This is like what I'm envisioning, you know, the American Idol judges, like standing there, like sitting there, right, during your audition, and you gotta walk in there and sing. Was there any kind of introduction like ahead of time or anything like that, or was like literally the first time you walk in that room is the first time you've met these people?
So it was kind of like that, but you know, I showed up with Joe, who is my manager, at like 7:30 in the morning. We were the first people there who were not running the event. Like we were early. Like, and I said I you know went to bed at 9 p.m. on Saturday night in Las Vegas. We're getting there as early as possible. So not only did I get to go on the stage and kind of look at where things were going to be at, but the people that were running the event, specifically a gentleman from the agency, before the first panel of the day even began, went up and said, hey, these creators are going to be presenting later today, so make sure you stick around, and trying to get people excited about that. So it was a one ballroom with a bunch of round tables. People could sit wherever they want to. People taking notes. They have their iPads, their laptops, whatever out. And that one stage had panels all throughout the day, networking breakouts all throughout the day, breakfast and lunch. Mm-hmm. So people knew of like me going into it, maybe, but generally they were there to hear out the other panels, network, catch up. And then the content creator thing was a focal point of it, but it wasn't the entire point of the thing. This was their way, like you said before, of implementing those changes of the industry with what's already been established. So these people didn't necessarily know what they were signing up for. They didn't know what I was about or my approach. And the things that we talk about all the time of like how we engage with our communities and how we distribute our stuff, the most basic things, these people have no idea, zero clue, and they don't get it. So for me to go up and talk about that process in the way that I did given my experience, is what was very unique about all of it too.
Well, I was going to ask you these people, without knowing exactly who was like listening to all of this, they've been in the industry for years. And one of the things that happens, especially in that type of industry, is people really get set in their ways. They kind of, it's not that they're not forward thinking. They're just kind of, this is the way it works kind of attitude. Right.
Yes.
How do you walk into that room and, knowing they already have that attitude, and knowing that they hear not just that particular day, but in general, because of who they are and what they do, they hear content style pitches, creative pitches every day, all day. Like, they literally have people walking by their studio offices and throwing scripts through an open window if it's available to them, right? Like, how is it you walk into a room and have the courage to attack that and see if you can change their mind on anything with that style, right?
Yeah. Well, obviously it takes a lot of courage in general. I did not think of myself, but I thought of everybody that was wishing me well to get to that point. And I knew that I owed it to all of my friends and family, all of you watching right now, that I need to go out and do this thing, because the way that you and everybody on Twitch and everybody on YouTube and Kick and TikTok and the way that we all engage with our people is what people want in a time where celebrities and fame and whatever is so unrelatable and dumb and makes all of us feel worse about ourselves because we're not that. And it's all ego, and it's a lot of monetarily driven garbage that we don't go to Twitch. We don't go to content creators because we want to admire them, but because we want to be involved with them. And knowing that is the future, that authenticity, that realness, that ability to make more one-on-one connections and kind of, hold it more valuably, that is the future. So it wasn't like, I knew I wasn't wrong, and Joe knew I wasn't wrong. So we knew we are correct. We are right. And if they don't like it, that's all right, because I'm already going here. I'm already go alongside everybody. Like, we're going to make cool stuff happen. And these people can join and make it a cooler thing and expedite the process and kick in a couple bucks and make it happen. But if you don't want to, all right, see ya. And then they'll retire and then they're gone. So they don't care, whatever, right?
What was the overall, you're going through your pitch. Is it just a pitch, or is there any kind of back and forth with you and the people that are
back
listening?
And forth?
They're just sitting there silent, taking notes. What's going on there?
So I was number 2 of 3. There were supposed to be 4 pitches. I guess one person wasn't there. So being in the middle, I knew I didn't want to be the last one. I wanted to be in the middle, number 3 or number 2, whatever. So, the vibe that a lot of people did not know what to expect of content creators doing professional level pitches, right? What does that even look like? So I don't know if there were any expectations from other people going into it. And although I'm not going to speak to the content of the other pitches because it's their own and whatever they're going to do with it, whatever. But there were definitely anecdotes of being a typical content creator, ergo being like, look how many followers I have. Look how many. And in a room like this, yes, attention is valuable. How many followers you have, sure. But what are you building? What is your perspective? What is your mindset that makes you different? And I had the only pitch that did that literally in real time and really laying it out for people. Another slide that isn't this one that's being featured right now, commenting on the brands and platforms I'm on, was literally like, I make videos.
Oh, don't get
actually.
We'll get to that later.
We'll get to that. Okay, so that is that's part of the pitch, but like that perspective was so valuable. So, you know, like it was very tough only because I didn't see any facial reactions out of people, and there was no like any inkling of humor you think you could get out. No,
well, that's
zero,
what I'm asking.
nothing.
So they were just sitting there quiet, like just listening.
Yes.
Now, were the other two?
They were in the front, like at a table in the very front, and they were pretty jovial because they're not an executive. They don't whatever, right?
Right.
So they were kind of lively and very like, oh, you know, like reacting, but everybody else.
So the other two presenters or pitch people or whatever, they're sitting there listening to you, and you were sitting there listening to them. And so let me ask you this: is there an opportunity there, you think, number one, for you to potentially inspire them in their content, or vice versa? Did you glean anything from them and be like, yo, like that's a really interesting idea or avenue or point or whatever that maybe you can put into your own personal toolbox?
Yeah. So one of the pitches was a docuseries kind of, more like a Bill Nye the Science Guy meets pop culture kind of a deal.
Okay.
And the other show was more so of a scripted series. So both things I can definitely draw inspiration from, but the way that everybody was doing their own pitches, I can't compete. And we are not in the same, it is literally 3 separate verticals of what these people could do and want, right?
Which is
so
cool,
I wasn't,
because it's dramatically different. Like that's pretty neat. Okay. That's really cool.
Yeah. So I wasn't like competing with them. However, when it came to my understanding of the business, meaning the importance of getting your content across all these different platforms, really truly understanding your audience, developing your brand beyond just like a profile picture, but into a living world with characters in the form of Pro Gamer's Guide and the books and all that. I'm the only one that had original property or intellectual property IP, like something you can make an animated series of, something you can make a game of. I was the only one that had my content on these other platforms, and that was really community focused. Mine was very, very, like, I literally, one of the slides is me showing all the families wearing like my merch and having pictures of me with like, it was perfect. It was amazing. So those things, I think they really looked at me and were like, oh my goodness, like I got a lot of really kind words from them and everybody involved. A lot. So
how did they get selected? So how did these other people, including the one that didn't show up, like how is it that they were picked out of, you know, millions of people throughout the freaking globe to come on?
So I don't know. Now, the agent that they have, I think they have the same agent or separate, I don't know, whatever. But they work a lot with like commercials. They're in commercials and other LA based productions and blah, blah, blah. So to my understanding, as it was explained to me by Joe, and maybe you can enlighten whatever, that like in order to get those kind of opportunities, you almost have to like not buy your way in, but there is a level of that where like you pay to have the opportunity to do the thing and you go. And the pitches that they had may have cost upwards of thousands of dollars to produce. Mine did not. So it was just me for weeks tweaking and everything. But maybe it was that. Maybe it was, I don't know. And I can't speak to that, but I didn't ask.
So these people were already probably working somewhere in the industry kind of thing, and had a
or they knew people more closely that were, but I know for absolute 100% fact, Joe and I were there on merit 100%.
Sure.
There was I did not pay my way into this meeting or to have this opportunity in any capacity.
Sure. So the pitch is done. Thank you for your time. The last person goes. Thank you for your time. Well, I tell you what, I'd hate to be that last person following Hollywood O'Brien up there with a kick-ass pitch. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, hate to be that last person. Anyway, the pitch is done. Now you had they kind of added another opportunity. Almost, it felt like in the 11th hour, really. Like we're like, hey, you want to present at this panel too that we're having that kind of coincides with everything, or how'd that work?
This panel was just me who, because of my opportunity, my ability to speak to all this stuff. They were like, oh yeah, you'd be great on this panel too. So immediately following the pitches, we left the room to go talk to people who maybe wanted to talk to us. So while this is not part of the panel I was doing, but while I was doing the panel, Joe was out there talking with people, getting info on LinkedIn, whatever. So this is still a slide. What I do as a content creator was from the pitch.
Oh, so that all came from the pitch. Okay, see, I didn't know what the difference was between the pitch versus what you discussed on the panel.
So the panel was a few executives, like one from Samsung, NBC Universal, Fremantle, and myself. We're discussing what it means to get your content on all these different places, how you engage with the audience, what decisions do you, what data do you pull from to make decisions in terms of content and the new TV marketplace. So the video for the pitch and the panel I was on will be available in some capacity. So if you want to, I'm not posting it like on YouTube, but if you want to see it, you can let me know and I can send you a link when it's ready, whatever. But essentially, like, the guy from Samsung is like, hey, we have interactive TV elements with our Samsung TV Plus, and on Fremantle with our Price is Right, blah, 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 we can have interactive bits for the segments, and that translates to blah, blah. So a lot of that discussion. So, I just had my perspective as a creator. And then the one question that really threw me off at the very end was like, so what's the big opportunity you see for yourself for the next 3 years? And I'm like, I'll have my own show and do the thing. And, I had kind of a flubby moment because I wasn't expecting it. And, these people, like I've said, very rooted in traditional broadcast, sports, whatever. And it's the same language that we speak about stuff, but it's just like slightly higher vocabulary and slightly like elevated. And I'm like, but
total number of business cards you handed out. What was?
So actually, I have a dot card. So I
you did the dot phones, card thing. Okay.
One of the dots, and then so a stipulation of this whole thing, all the people involved creator wise had to have a manager of some kind. So Joe was the one a lot of people were going to speak for me. So for example, like the guy from the agency, the big agency who put on this creator segment, he said, okay, if somebody wants to talk to you, I'm going to shoulder tap Joe for him to then shoulder tap you. And I'm like, okay, because we're used to like dealing with each other one-on-one and like whatever. But like for the sake of formality and making it be official and whatever, it's like that is the process to like whatever. So any opportunity that comes through, yes, I'm going to be involved. Yes, I'm going to know about it, but it's going to start with Joe and we're good and it's all whatever, but that's how it goes.
But it's hard for somebody like you or like us in general to get out of that mindset, because literally of the picture that we're looking at, which is this idea of, okay, yeah, we make videos, but it's all of the other stuff that goes along with it. You wear so many hats as a content creator, right? And you have to do so much. And this was one of those, yes, I got an early look at the deck, but like this was one of the ones that I specifically targeted with you, and I was like, that one is important. That's a big deal. And I was like, you need that thing to pop up, and then we need to animate your PowerPoint so they all just keep popping all over. Because I was like, that's what's going to resonate with people. That one slide is going to hit a nerve, strike a nerve with people in the room, because especially in the TV world, typically, or the movie world, they designate people for so many different things. Like it's one person for this, one person for that, one person for this. And they don't grasp that concept of, all of this. So like when you watch, spinning it back to Lego for a second, when you watch your fellow land members out there, right? Your friends that are Lego ambassadors, and they're making a video or what, like, they have done so much on their end to just get that video out, right? Like it's reading the press releases, it's shooting the video, it's scripting the video, it's shooting it. Like it's all of these things on top of Lego building the freaking sets, on their own time. So it's not all sunshine and rainbows on the land members side of doing video content for that. And that's just that type of content, start broadening out and being a variety content, creator, like what Brian does, like or like what I do. Like there's a lot going on there, and somebody in the TV world, it's going to be hard for them to understand that unless you visually kind of give them a representation of, hey, we do all of this as one person.
What was really funny, Joe told me, because when I'm in the moment, I didn't realize any of this, but that there were multiple people that was a time where they all took out their phones to take a picture of me with that slide, because it really painted that picture. And yeah, you said this was an important one. My friend said the one I had about my future vision was really important. So I just found it interesting that everybody had a different key takeaway about my presentation, and all of it was good. And everybody who saw it ahead of time was like, this is phenomenal. You went above and beyond what we ever expected for something like this. Like, you knocked it out of the park, and nothing but high praise from the people that ran the show. And I'm, this is what I've been talking about for a long time. Like, give me the opportunity to do something like this, and we will take care of it. We'll get it done, and we'll make a stand. We'll shine. And I did in that moment, specifically right there.
So poor Bricks O'Brien has to wear a tie here and everything like that. Now, was that
look so scrunchy? I don't know what
was that something Joe said was like, you got to dress like this, or because like this doesn't feel like you at all?
I mean, he said dress to impress, but at the same time, he was wearing khakis and a kind of wrinkly polo and a baseball cap. So I'm like, all right, Joe, well, I guess I'm dressing to impress here.
Because again, TV execs are different. Like they show up, typically in their nice clothes or whatever. The people that are working in the trenches, nah, dude, they're not showing up. They're not showing up in suits and ties. They're showing up like that in a Hawaiian shirt, ready to party, because that's who they are. And I love that you had an opportunity to kind of, for lack of a better way to say it, let your hair down and kind of be you in the midst of all of the boringness that can be NAB, right? So how did the whole book thing come about? Like being able to display that here?
Yeah. So the gentleman who runs programming everywhere, Michael Depp, was like, oh, from our introductory call, you're an author. You have these books. This is amazing. Why don't I put you in touch with the people who operate the NAB show shop? And I know they have other authors who are doing signings and stuff. Why don't you see if you can make it work? And I'm like, all right, whatever. And I had that meeting with someone who was from there. I'm like, yeah, I'm a children's book author, all about gaming and healthy habits and whatever. What's the crowd like? And it's obviously very professional, as you said. And all the other books and authors that were there were very much like, here's my 300-page handbook on how to code and how to do a podcast and how to do a whatever. Very, dark blue and purple green covers with a lot of text and a lot of, it's kind of that thick. So I wasn't the only children's book. There was a children's book about podcasting there, but with nowhere near as good illustrations. Shout out to Kevin. So I was very unique in this. And I thought, well, this would be my first author event. I will put out the good word as I can. I'm in Las Vegas. People can attend for free because it's in the lobby. But like, do I expect fans of mine and families to show up? I don't know. Maybe if they're in Vegas. Will anybody at the show recognize me? Probably not. Like, this seems like I don't know if I should even do this because I got to take them myself there. And I don't know. It seems like it's not a good fit, was pretty much my mindset going into it.
Sure. And you were wrong.
So I go there and I show up. One of the first things I do is go up to the thing, and author event is about to start. I'm walking from upstairs down to the area, and I see this big, bright yellow pom-pom beanie that looks very familiar walking toward the info desk. And I'm like, oh, I know who that is. And it turns out to be Karen Day. And I'm like, excuse me, miss, you want to go this way? And give a big hug and all that. So she was there from the moment that the author event started and stayed with me all through it. And it starts at 11. I'm thinking, all right, I'll be here for a half hour. Karen and I will talk and just pal around. And then, that'll be that, whatever. There was one gentleman who actually was at the pitch event, but they saw me, but they didn't pull me aside to like say hello and whatever. So they ended up seeing me at the author event. He's like, oh my God, I wanted to see you, but you weren't on until 3:00. I had to go. So I made a shout out video for his kid. And it was a very sweet moment and all that, inspiring words about his YouTube channel. While I was doing that, there was somebody walking by in the hallway that ended up recognizing me by the sound of my voice and came over and saw the books and saw me. It was like, oh my goodness, my son's such a big fan of yours. Ended up getting a copy of the book for me to personalize and all that. And not only were there people that recognized who I was, but there were also people who were just walking by or walking into the shop, saw the vibrant illustrations of Mr. Kevin Hinkle, of me being there in the bright Hawaiian shirt, Karen obviously with the bright yellow pom-pom beanie, being a great community cheerleader here, that were like, I need something for my grandkids. What is this? And I say, this is Pro Gamer's Guide, a children's book all about meaningful life tips in a video game world. And the concept, the illustrations, the message, and the way I was able to communicate with everybody, it resonated immediately. Everybody was very all about it right from the get. And I saw such an overwhelmingly positive response. And there were so many people that walked up and I just had very genuine conversations with about, why are you here at NAB? Because everybody's there for a reason, pretty much. They work in the industry, they do something. One person's a producer for docuseries type films that go out on Vice, and this person is from the YMCA, and this person does this and does it. And it's just like, what do you do? I'm a full-time family first content creator. I just got done pitching my own show, and it just kind of goes like that. So what I thought would be a half hour of Karen and I palling around turned into 2 hours of people showing up and really enjoying Pro Gamer's Guide and talking to me. So it worked out. Actually, there were multiple times in between people showing up where I go to Karen and I'm like, this is going way better than I thought it was, literally in real time. It was as good as it possibly could have gone given all of the circumstances. And I went from the pitch and being like, oh, I don't know if anybody cared about anything I actually had to say, to then going to that event and being like, wow, this is all not that I needed the confirmation or affirmation, but this is exactly what I needed to hear in terms of professionals, people who know what they're talking about, resonating with what I do and needing to do this way more often.
You know what didn't make it into any of the decks, the pitches, the panels, or the meet and greets here with the time in the book is any publicity for the Z&B Live podcast, your unfiltered Lego podcast.
Listen, man.
What kind of coffee do you want, Mr. Bricks O'Brien?
It's light ice with 3 caramel and almond milk and a whatever
Hey
else,
man, I'm happy for you. It sounded amazing. It sounded like a great time, and it sounds like it sounds like everybody in Vegas at NAB, all of these movers and shakers of the entertainment industry had an opportunity to see what we already all knew, and that is Mr. Hollywood O'Brien is kind of a big deal, and y'all should get to know him a little bit because he's got ideas, folks, and they're not stopping. They're not stopping anytime soon. Yeah, you know who else has ideas out there? Lego. They're not always
bad
good.
Ones. They're really bad ones, actually.
Ideas.
Really, really, really bad ones, actually.
Yeah.
See, this is why I didn't mention the show, because most of the Lego sets we talk about are absolute stinkers. Big stinkers. Where the stuff that we are working on as individuals and together is way more exciting than anything this company's putting out recently.
My goodness. So Lego unveils a new line of Marvel busts. They apparently showed off the Iron Man. I don't think they showed off the Iron Spider version, but they showed off the Iron Man bust in a early form during the Lego fan media days that was done months and months ago. And I'll tell you right, did you have an opportunity to see any of the actual video from the actual release? Like the announcement, they pulled the sheet off and did the whole thing. Did you see a video of that at all?
I did see that, and I saw that. I think we give a little bit of flack to the land members for being like, ooh, a lot of that, and we got a glimpse at some real whelming happening at that event, because wow, what a absolute snooze. Stinker, big stinker of an unveiling they had there, dude. Yikes, does not describe it, dude.
Even the designer himself was not thrilled, which I know some of these designers can be a little lackluster in enthusiasm anyway, right? But the thing that makes me cackle is he's trying to talk about, he's like, here it is, a new line of bus that we're doing. It doesn't have a light brick. That was his spiel, was it doesn't have a light brick, but we've got these moving panels in the back, and it's like, oh, even he's not happy with it. So the new Marvel bus, we have an Iron Man, Mark IV Iron Man. The website, the press release is claiming that it comes from Iron Man 3. There's been some interesting topic or conversation with our Marvel friends about that, whether or not it actually comes from Iron Man 3 versus Iron Man 2, whatever. They also have an Iron Spider-Man hitting. Now, the Iron Man is hitting on June 1st. The Iron Spider-Man is hitting on August 1st. Spider-Man is currently available for pre-order, where Iron Man is not. That's wild. Make that make sense. So the June 1st set is not available for pre-order. Iron Man is hitting at 436 pieces, and the Iron Spider-Man is at 379 pieces, and yet both at the exact same price of $59.99 USD. What? For 379 pieces for $60. Now, they did finally something you and I had talked about on this show with the helmets. How do we move the needle on the helmets? What could Lego do to move the needle on the helmets? And I threw out the idea, start including minifigures with them. Start doing that. That'll help. Well, instead of putting them with the helmets, they decided to put them with their new bust lineup, and I guess to help sweeten the deal a little bit with this. However, these things are tiny, dude. These things are so small for $60. I don't get it.
Can I ask what's happening with the two golden bits that are up at Iron Man, the upper part of the mask,
What's
where they
happening
look like
with his grumpy face? He looks like he's pouting.
he looks like
No, he's got the lips sticking out like this, man. It looks like he's pouting. I don't know. The whole thing is just not right. There's I don't know. There's some stuff you could like, like the chest area a little bit. The shoulders look good, but the overall like mask part, the main thing is not right. And Spider-Man is about as bad. Spider-Man has got a couple printed pieces on it, but even the minifigure that they include clearly shows that there should be webbing and stuff on his torso and on his arms and or his shoulders and stuff. And there's not. They kind of just used the color separation in the bricks to try to insinuate that there's webbing print on his chest, even though there's not. I can't tell. There's some webbing parts on top of Spider-Man's head that looks like stickers. Like I'm not even sure what's going on here, but for $60, I just don't. I just, once again, it's just like why are you putting these sets out here to die? It's the Marvel sign all over again. What they're doing Marvel dirty with some of these sets, with the Marvel sign. I just don't understand what's going on here or why they think that this is a good. The idea is a good idea. Miniature busts that include a minifigure are a good idea. They need to be bigger. And they need to not be so ridiculously priced. I don't understand what's it's the Black Panther bust ridiculously priced all over again. Like it's just not. I don't understand what they're doing here with these sets and who's buying this? Who's going to buy this? Who's buying this?
Yeah, this just sucks. And they're going to do this for 2 years, and if they don't sell well, then they'll pivot away from it. But man, I don't know. Like you get a minifigure.
Do you see them moving? So which we're going to get into in this in just a second, but do you see them moving away again from helmets in general and kind of going to this bust style?
You know what? The big struggle with a lot of these is going to be the detail of the helmets, because you can't do humans, right?
At that scale, especially. Yeah, it's going to be hard.
Yeah, you can't do it. You couldn't do humans at the scale of the helmet, let alone on the scale of this. So you're going to be stuck with anything with a helmet on. Star Wars Z.
Oh.
I don't know what just happened there. Hello?
I don't know. Your camera went off. That was weird.
No, I just disconnected and reconnected. That was very odd. But yeah, like I don't know what you could do differently with these busts instead of doing more helmets. And I think they're going to look even worse because you have less detail with the helmets themselves. And, you could do Groot. You can do you're basically retreading old ground at this point. Are we not, with every single thing that has the helmet?
We are, but I feel like we left a lot of helmets, behind, right? Like you could have done a Thor's helmet. You could have done a Miles Morales Spider-Man. You could have, there were other characters available to do these helmets with that they never really got around to. And now you're not going to do a bust of Thor. Like, no, it's going to look awful. Right. So like, what do you left him in the dust. So I'm not sure what other busts they're doing. I mean, Black Panther, maybe. I mean, again, I'm not sure what we're doing here, because I feel like they're just throwing, it feels like, once again, Lego's just throwing a bunch of stuff at the wall and trying to see what sticks. But, this is one of those instances where, like, listen, as we got to be responsible adult fans of Lego here, and we can't continue to spend the money on this stuff. They're going to continue to do it. They're going to be like, oh, well, it actually made money. Don't stop it. Stop doing it. Like, please, for goodness sake, stop doing it.
The biggest mistake they made, unfortunately, was going with Black Panther for that first mega bust and then taking the path that they did with the helmets. Because if they had done Iron Man or Spider-Man from the get, like as a character that is super relevant and evergreen and important, and not saying that Black Panther isn't, and obviously that was right around the time that Chadwick Boseman unfortunately passed away. So you would have thought like more people would be apt to picking up that set because of it, but it was too big, too expensive, and people just didn't do it. So what if in another reality we had an Iron Man bust without the gauntlets, like what they had with Black Panther, and instead we got like Black Panther Gauntlet, like one, right? And then Iron Man, you had one gauntlet with him, and then you could do the Infinity Gauntlet or the Iron Man Gauntlet, whatever, right? So I don't know where you go from here. I don't think this is the step, and I think we're gonna get 2 years of this stuff, and it's gonna sit on shelves, and they're gonna look progressively worse. And maybe with Spider-Man, here's your opportunity to get your Iron Spider with arm printing. Congratulations, you've won, but you're going to pay $60 for it? Probably not. Not for the casual fan. So enjoy 2 years of this stuff.
I hope we don't get 2 years.
For the next thing.
I hope we don't get 2 years of this stuff. I really don't. But now I'm concerned. Now I'm worried. We have a Star Wars Day preview event now coming up on April 15th, and that's going to be showcasing what we should be expecting for that May the 4th release window. I would not anticipate any news on the Death Star, but we can keep our fingers crossed. But there are things that we should be expecting from that May the 4th event, right? Like, we'll get the UCS set announcement for May. It more than likely is going to be this Jango Fett thing that we've all been thinking it's going to be. The gift with purchase that'll be attached to that. We're probably going to get some new helmets. Now, whether or not they're helmets or this, that's why now I'm like, which way are we going with it? I'm curious now. They've established this. Are we going to get more busts out of that, or are they going to stick with the helmet lineup that they now try to reestablish with that AT driver helmet that we got to start the year?
You know what's another pigeonhole is they have the buildable figures, which are not too dissimilar in scale from this. Right. So not only do you have the figures, the busts, and the helmets of all these kind of yay big creations representing each of these characters. So
it's what they did with the T-Rex head, right? They cut it off at the neck, and then they put it on a stand, and then they attached it to the bigger T-Rex. That's what this looks like. It looks like they cut off a buildable figure and put him on a stand.
The bigger T-Rex is cool.
It is.
Like, this isn't cool. So at that point, why don't you just give us a bigger brick-built Iron Man figure that isn't a play version and make it cool? But that's what I'm wondering, if that's where this is leading, because that's what the T-Rex did. Was they started with the head, they started with the skull, and they took that exact same model and they stuck it on the body. And that's what this looks like. It looks like they just cut it off at the torso. They could literally make a C-3PO style buildable fig, a Chewbacca buildable fig, whatever, of that same scale. It's the same scale as those, right? I just don't understand what they're doing here. Like, it's like, but it's $60. Like, it's not half the pieces are in the stand. That's crazy to me. It's blowing my mind. But the Star Wars Day preview, I'm excited for. Enjoy the next 2 years of these.
Please, God, no.
Enjoy.
Please, God, no. The Star Wars Day preview, I am excited for on April 15th, starting at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. I'm actually going to be going live that day, which is not a normal day for me, at 11 a.m. over on Twitch to preview that event. And I'm excited to see what they come up with for Star Wars. If they tease us with anything. I remember a couple years ago, instead of just freaking announcing the UCS Razor Crest, they just had all their designers wear the freaking t-shirt that had the outline of the UCS Razor Crest, and I was like, stop trolling us. So I'm assuming we're gonna some designer showing up with a Death Star on their chest. Put that on my bingo card. It's gonna happen. That's a foregone conclusion. Anyway, Mr. Bricks O'Brien, good show back. Thank you so much for sharing all of your adventures with us from NAB, and sorry if we got a little nerdy on the NAB jargon and whatnot. And it's a little bit of a different show, but I think it was interesting. I think it's important for us to listen to what is going on out there, because people like Brian and others are out there trying to push the narrative of this type of content on a much larger stage. And I think that's important for all of us content creators out there, both in the Lego realm, Twitch, YouTube, wherever, for future endeavors. So thank you, Mr. Bricks O'Brien, for all of your work there. Thank you guys for hanging out with us for Z&B Live, your Unfiltered Lego podcast. Don't forget, we're live every Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern here on YouTube, and you can catch us after the fact over on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and everything like that. Once the episode is live on YouTube, share it out for us if you could, please. We would really appreciate it. And if you are currently with us live in our live chat, we're going to be sticking around after the show for a little bit, not terribly long, little bit of post-show action. If you have questions for Brian about his time at NAB, this would be a good time to ask. Brian, thank you so much, and we will catch you guys next week. Until then, everybody, bye.